All righty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is a good day, leading up into our um, final game, regular season game of the year, which is hard to believe. It's already at this point. We're close to the off season. So we're going to be talking about the OU LSU game that's coming up this weekend. It's a big game. It's a game that I know that doesn't have playoff implications, but it has a lot of implications on the trajectory of how you feel about this season and the way that Oklahoma goes into the offseason and goes into their bowl game. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. All right, we'll jump right into it. So obviously OU, LSU's this weekend. OU's looking for their seventh win of the season, while LSU's looking for their eighth win of the season. If Oklahoma comes in, they're going on the road at LSU, 6 p.m. on ESPN. If they go into Baton Rouge, both teams will end with the same records, and which is kind of hard to believe. Oklahoma's in a position now to get their seventh win. Brandon, I'll just start with you. What are your thoughts? What are the keys to the game, in your opinion?
Yeah, man. So you look at, the stats and the box scores and all this stuff. First of all, Alabama went into Baton Rouge and ran all over them. I think Jaden Milrow had 185 by himself. They ran for 311 yards, like 6 yards a carry, something like that. So, I mean, that's obviously going to be your game plan. We just saw it work out very well against Alabama. I think Jackson Arnold made all the right decisions as far as when to keep, when to hand off. Xavier Robinson's becoming a player. Jackson Arnold's a very athletic quarterback. Honestly, I want to see it be ran the same way, right? Yeah, you want to see us run the ball very, very well against them, kind of control the clock again. I think defensively against Alabama, we only had 9 possessions that we had to defend, which is a lot better than the average that we've had all season. And you saw the result. We only gave it 3 points to a very good Alabama offense. So I think, that's going to be your key, again, is run the ball, limit them. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. You don't want to set yourself up in first and 15s, first and 20s, false starts, holding, stuff like that. I think if we let the crowd change the game at all to where we're behind the sticks, I think that bodes very poorly for us. I think we've got to stay ahead of the sticks, establish a good run game, and make it hard on them. I think we want them to be in those long down and distances.
You definitely do. Before I start talking too much about it, did you see the availability report and see that Andrew Anthony is questionable?
I did. I was going to bring it up at some point because, I mean, the that report, has been trash all season, and it's
Yeah.
still trash. We're very beat up still, but it is very interesting to see him as questionable. I'd love to see him go. I don't think we will. I think we're a lot
Yeah.
more likely to see Thompson. He's also as questionable right now, but man, it would be pretty great if he was out there.
It would be. I'd have a hard time, like what's really the point at the end of the day? The guy already had another surgery this middle of the season, so you might as well let him. I mean, if he's going to play again, just wait till the bowl game, give him a few extra weeks. But really, I mean, I totally agree with you. Really, when it comes down to it, LSU has an explosive offense. They're a really good offense. Nussmeier can throw the ball all over the place. When you look at their passing offense, they're a top 10 passing offense in the country. They have 3 wide receivers that are over 500 yards each. They can spread the ball out. But really, the name of the game is, and why they've been held back is because of the turnovers that Nussmeier has. He's has 11 picks on the year. He's during that 3-game stretch of like A&M, Alabama, and Florida, he turned the ball over multiple times. Really, at the end of the day, Oklahoma, like you said, is going to have to run the ball, control the clock, run X. Javante Barnes is probable as at the time of we're recording this. So if hopefully you get him back, you can't let unfortunately Taylor Tatum can't turn the ball over. And really, you need to play solid defense. You need to have Eli Bowen out there and your defensive backfield play solid defense and just keep everything in front of you and wait for Nussmeier to make a mistake and win the turnover battle. And if you can get him to create 1 or 2 turnovers and you don't turn the ball over yourself, I like your odds. That's really what it's going to come down to. And a little bit blast from the past. I know it's not been that long, but Caden Durham is on this team as well. And I think a lot of people, watching this podcast and follow OU football know Caden Durham, and he's had a great freshman season. I mean, he's over 600 yards on the year, running on the ground, and over 200 yards receiving at this point. That's a solid freshman. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it was either him or Tatum. And at the end of the day, Tatum is extremely talented and he'll be good. He's just got to, hold on to the football at this point. So, Oklahoma is a top, what was it, number 16 total defense in the country. Keep everything in front of you, make Nussmeier turn the ball over once or twice, and just have Jackson Arnold and X run the ball, and you're in it.
100%. I mean, so 16 total defense. We're 15th. 15th, I think, when they run. So it's the 15th best rush defense in the country. So, hopefully Caden Durham doesn't, go explode on us and make us regret picking Tatum. But I don't see it. With Garrett Nussmeier, man, he kind of reminds me of, because I was going to say the same thing. He has a lot of, I think, Peyton Thorne in him. I think Peyton Thorne over there at Auburn is a quarterback that has so much potential. You watch what he did against us for 3.5 quarters, throwing the great deep balls. He was lighting us up. I think he's a guy that has all the skills, all the tools you need to be a great quarterback. He just is turnover prone. And I think Garrett Nussmeier can be the same thing. And I think if R. Mason Thomas and Trace Ford can kind of have a similar game to what they did against Alabama, the inside guys, Jaden Jackson Stone, DeJoun Terry, if you can put pressure on him, he's gonna throw us one or two. I think we talked about it beforehand, and you just brought it up. They are, the 7th best pass offense in the country, that's OU's weaknesses. I think we're 48th in terms of yards allowed in the passing game, but I think most of that is without Eli Bowen being in the starting lineup. I think since Eli Bowen has, became a guy, the pass defense has looked a lot better. He just went up against Ryan Williams for 60 minutes or, the whole game. And the stat line says 2 catches for 36 yards. Now, I get it. He had the deep ball that they called back for no reason. But, at the end of the day, we do take those. That's always fun. And then the other touchdown where he stepped out of bounds. But at the end of the day, it's 2 catches for 36 yards. And he had a pick. So, I mean, Eli Bowen's a player. I think you got to match him up against their best. I like our safety play. It's get after Garrett Nussmeier. Make him a little bit antsy, make him throw the ball before he wants to, and run the ball. And I think Oklahoma's going to be in a good spot to steal this one.
They will. Really, also, it's going to come down to is Oklahoma's offensive line play. Now, obviously, the running attack is based on the play of the offensive line, and they played really well last week against Alabama. When you look at that defensive line for LSU, they've got 2 guys, Braden Swinson and Savion Jones. Both guys have at least 4 sacks on the season. Swinson has, I think, 8 or 8.5 sacks at this point. They can rush the passer. And obviously, in theory, they're not going to be throwing a whole lot. But these are guys that have quite a few tackles for loss. The linebacker, Greg Penn Jr., he's flying all over the field. The offensive line, if it can play well, again, I mean, literally, like you said, it's a copy and paste, except at the end of the day, Milroe was force him to pass. This time it's Nussmeier. It's flipped, essentially. You have to play the pass and make Nussmeier beat you on the ground and make Caden Durham beat you on the ground. So it's a similar game plan. It's just flipped. But overall, I think Oklahoma's going to be in it. I think it's going to be hard for Oklahoma, if I'm being honest, to win this game. They're coming off an emotional win. Riding a high, going in this game, going on the road to LSU. It's going to be a tough environment. And I just want to say, before we get into score predictions and stuff, Oklahoma has the number 16 defense overall, total defense, and they have played 7 of the top 25 teams.
Yeah, I bring it up all the time. Imagine this team with an offense, and I'm still hoping that it's a simple offseason away, and by next year we do have an offense. Because if you pair an offense with this defense, if you look at it from the time Brent Venables got here, to where it is now, it has just jumped every single year. And realistically, if they continue this trend, it's a top 10 defense next year. And if you have a top 10
Mhm.
defense with even give me the 50th best offense in the country, it's going to be a very, very good football team. So now just a little bit more on tomorrow. So, because we are going to get into score predictions and stuff like that. But um, let's just say perfect world, right? Tomorrow, Oklahoma goes into Baton Rouge. We beat LSU. You finish the regular season 7-5, and then you have a bowl game, and then pretend you win the bowl game. Man, can you imagine if this team finishes 8-5 after everything? The injuries, how bad it looked at times. The South Carolina game was miserable. That game was over 5 minutes into it. The Texas game was miserable. Tennessee is a game that I feel like we could have won, and we just decided we didn't want to win it. But can you imagine, man, if everything goes right and tomorrow you beat LSU? Because I do think if you beat LSU tomorrow and you're 7-5, I'm gonna like our odds in a bowl game. I think it's gonna be it's obviously not gonna be a great bowl, a 7-5 team, but it's gonna be some smaller bowl game against probably not a very good school. And then if you go out there and win that and you finish 8-5 after the season and how it looked, because going into that Alabama game, I think we all obviously wanted us to beat Alabama. We're fans, but I think the realistic part of you probably thinks you're going to get hammered in that game, get hammered in this LSU game, finish 5-7, and then just disaster could happen. And then the boys went out there and just dominated Alabama, and all of a sudden you have a little bit of hope. And if you finish 8-5, I think again with how everything has played out, I don't think there's a Sooner fan alive that would be mad about this season anymore.
No, it's amazing what one win can do, and the perception of this season can be totally changed with that one win plus, you know, tomorrow and then a bowl game. 8 wins in your first season playing 7 of the top 25 teams is nothing to scoff at. And I would argue LSU is one of they're probably on the fringe of being ranked. Even if they win this game 8-4, they very well might end up in the last AP poll as ranked. Um, no, it's true, and Oklahoma's right there, and Oklahoma's a 6-point underdog. Um, it's going to be a tough place to play,
I mean,
and
100%. Yeah.
at the end of the day, Oklahoma has everything in front of them. They're going to be in this game. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be close, and hopefully it comes down to the turnover battle, and hopefully OU forces Nussmeier to make a critical error.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still of the belief that Alabama win did salvage your season. You are bowling no matter what now. No matter what happens tomorrow, if you win a bowl game, you're 7-6, worst case, with a big win over a really good team in Alabama. So I think the season's still fine. Barring a 77-0 loss in Baton Rouge tomorrow, but I
Mhm.
don't foresee that. But so now that we've reached the end of this, I guess we'll do our score predictions. So I know when we talked on our last video for the Alabama recap, you didn't pick Oklahoma right away. I think me and host talked about it multiple times on the show. It's sometimes like as the week goes on, we start to like believe a little bit more. We talk to each other like on the show and stuff, and we say, well, if we just do this and this and this, we're gonna win. And then you start to think in your head like, oh man, it's realistic. Have you reached the point yet where you're flipping your prediction? Are you picking Oklahoma tomorrow in Baton Rouge?
I mean, it's possible that it could happen, but I'm going to stick with it. LSU 31, Oklahoma 21. I think it'll be 24-21, and I think LSU will score a touchdown late and make it a 10-point game. I think they'll cover. Um, I just I don't know. It's asking a lot. Um, so I might be a doomer. I'm hoping I'm wrong. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're wrong too. So you're picking LSU to win and cover. See, I'm sticking with it. I'm just gonna assume Oklahoma rides this high. I think they want to finish it strong. I mean, they obviously want to finish it strong. It's going to be a matter of if LSU allows it. I look at the Alabama LSU box score, and Bama ran for 300 some odd yards on 6 yards a carry. I think Oklahoma doesn't have to be that efficient, and if you can be 150 to 170, and I do think that's realistic. Limit their possessions. get after the passer. I think our Mason Thomas is huge right now. Eli Bowen is playing out of his mind. You keep that kind of stuff going. You limit their big plays because I think they are going to hit some big plays. I think we are still very beatable on some long balls, and I do think that they hit a couple of those. I think you have to, when they do hit those kinds of plays, at least make the tackle. I'd rather us tackle them at the 5-yard line than let them score because I do trust that red zone defense a lot. So limit them to 3 on a lot of their good drives. I think you do end up winning. I'm still sticking 27-21 Oklahoma. If we ride a high into that bowl game, and let's see how it plays out.
For sure. No, I hope you're right, but something's just telling me if this season is the way the season is, I don't know. So anyway, any last thoughts?
That's it for me.
No. All right. If you made it this far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. We'll catch you guys next time.